No hot water. So wear shoes. What kind of shoes?
Well-fitted shoes.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Look, good news this time. The person receiving the scholarship is in section 2. So y'all have clearance. You can stay and lecture until 12 noon.
That sucks.
11:50.
Okay.
Did not clarify that, Susie. Anyway, y'all don't have to stay for the thing, but understand that all these VIPs are going to be over here starting at 11:30. The other thing is Miss Bowie said that make sure that check your emails to do those faculty evaluations. I was like, they got an announcement. She said, go in there and tell them. So please do that. And they asked Miss Geary, they do look at that and do make changes based on what you're saying. So that does matter.
Yeah, I agree. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
The other thing is that Dr. Scott's been on me. I was just going to say, Dr. Scott's been on me about the smart watches. I know I've got a watch, but it ain't smart.
That's fine.
Yeah, and mine doesn't connect to anything.
Mine either.
You know,
Miss Cooper's probably does. She just probably don't know.
I don't know how to do it.
It connects to your phone.
Oh, it does?
Yeah,
It does.
but you don't have the phone on you to wear one.
Right.
Yeah, so it's
So we're good.
But she doesn't know.
Anyway, just make sure, if you got an Apple that does do that, don't worry about the little.
Just rub it up in that CDF. Go get you a $5 watch from Walmart.
The only other thing I wanted to say is, I am looking for new members for Alpha Delta Nu. It's the Honor Society for the Associate Degree Nursing Program. We have 3 that made it all the way through from the end of level 3 through level 4 this time. The problem is, it's not really a problem. The obstacle is you have to earn a B or better in every nursing class, have had no previous failures in any nursing class, and have maintained a 3.0 overall GPA. So it's tight. But if that is you, and you have really good, you're nice, we can't have any unprofessionalism, and you have to do a small project before you graduate. But if you meet all these criteria, it's well worth it to have on the job application. The dues are like $30. They went up to like $30. But other than that, if you're considering that you have earned a B or better in every nursing class and have never failed a nursing class and your overall GPA is 3 and think you might be a candidate, please let me know. Email me. Okay, I'm looking for another group.
What is it, honor?
It's the Nursing Honor Society.
It's a nursing honor society. It's really cool. But anyway, anything else you need? Are you happy about that? Okay.
That's what I was like.
I found out who the person is. They were in section 2. I was like, well, why does my class have to stay? And they were like, oh, well, they don't. I was like, yes. Okay. All right. Jessica.
You still failed.
Justin, you know the answer to that.
What did he ask?
He said, if you withdrew before you failed, does that count?
You cannot have repeated it.
Yeah,
Let's change the wording.
Yeah, I guess I'll have to change that. All right, anyway, y'all good? If you're worried about your grade and want to know your points to pass and that kind of stuff, email your advisor or I can help you. Okay? Anything else? Anybody got questions?
Well, send me a because you know the forms. I mean, I'm using her grid.
I can help.
Dr. Scott acts like she doesn't know stuff, but she does. She does.
I shirk responsibility.
It's actually in here. It actually
Miss Cooper, is that all of your classes for your GPA, or is it just nursing classes?
It's all your classes for your GPA. It's your overall GPA. I
Overall.
can look it up if you're not sure.
I'm so proud of y'all. You just go to level 4, and you know what happens in level 4? The funny names are gone. It's all hard work.
Because this is when such a piece of cake.
Yeah, we've been going back to level
You get
one.
intensive, and there are a lot of things you do for yourself, a lot of ATIs that are.
Don't forget to sign this book today before you leave if you didn't sign it. You know? All right, we're talking about diabetic feet. You want to stay and talk with us about diabetic
Oh,
feet?
girl, I can talk about that.
All right, what do you get to teach your patients?
You're gonna lose your foot.
Don't lead with that, okay?
I did wound care for 3 years and of my career.
Some people are pictorial, you just start showing pictures of amputation.
It is very disheartening. The big thing that I used to teach patients is when your blood sugar is elevated, it's like having little flakes of glass in your blood. And it is damaging all the small vessels that are in your eyes and in your kidneys, and it blocks the area that's needed for oxygenation and nutrients. And that your wound cannot heal if your blood sugar is high, no matter what I put on it, magic dust, no matter what. And so, really, you'd be shocked how much better their wounds will heal if their blood sugar gets in control.
She hasn't even listened to my lecture. She's
And,
good, isn't she?
Just saying, it gives me chills thinking about some of the patients that I've treated and the wounds that healed. The surgeons wanted to cut legs off, and they come to the wound center for a last-ditch effort. And when they did get their blood sugars under control and actually got some help and guidance on how to take care of themselves overall, not just what you put on your wound, we saved their legs. And it's amazing to me. And a little bit of knowledge that you can give a patient or their family where they can understand it. Don't talk over their head. It goes a long way. So listen to what Ms. Geary's telling you, because that really does pay off.
You better be quick. Go ahead.
I was doing a little independent research with some nurse practitioners. What, because you want to research the most current problem, and guess what, it's diabetes. And I said, what do you see with the diabetics that come in? They don't understand. They're not drinking any soft drinks, they're not having any alcohol, but they're drinking a liter of Diet Dr. Pepper every day. The sodium content itself drives your pressure up, which further damages your vessels. They're eating all this diet stuff and full of sodium, canned food, full of sodium. All you have to do is open that can, pour that liquid out and put water in it if you can't get fresh, okay? That gets rid of half the salt right off the bat. They didn't know how to get rid of the salt, so the hypertension continued to put pressure on those peripheral vessels in addition to the glass.
I just use that because they couldn't
Well,
get
that's a
it.
great one.
We get a picture of a molecule that looks like glass.
It does to me. Under thermometers by.
We give free
Okay, so you can tell I'm not lying to you about anything. Shoes. Go back to shoes. Matt, what do you want to say about wearing shoes? What kind of shoes? My diabetic patient, you said wear shoes.
They need to, they need to have it covered. They also need to probably put white socks on the way to see if there's any bleeding.
White
Okay,
cotton,
white socks,
well-fitted.
non-constricting
Cotton.
non-constricting white socks, shoes that cover your foot. So even though it's 110 degrees down here, and I want to wear my flip-flops, am I supposed to be wearing them? Nope. No, it's not providing the protection that I need for my foot. Nope. My little Crocs aren't providing the protection either. Well-fitting shoes. When should I buy my shoes?
In the evening.
In the afternoon, evening time, not first thing in the morning, because after you're up all day walking around and you have any kind of swelling in your feet, your shoes are going to get you tight. Tight shoes cause blisters. My diabetic patients' blisters don't heal. So I need to be thinking about those things.
Shouldn't they use like some Velcro shoes, they don't tie their shoes too bad?
No, they don't have to.
It's just easier because
I know it looks pretty, doesn't it? That's a good one too.
Can they feel that?
Some people can
Maybe
feel
not.
the hot burning sensation. Most diabetics don't have feeling in their feet. That's why they can't feel that. We had that patient at Biloxi Regional, and his family brought him in because his foot stunk. What happened was he had stepped on the shower drain thing, the little metal plate, and had cut his foot. By the time they brought him to the hospital, he had gangrene in his foot, and he ended up losing his foot because he didn't check his feet every day and he couldn't feel it. Trim the toenails, we talked about, lotion, water temperature, notify the healthcare provider. How often is it recommended that this patient see a podiatrist?
Yearly?
Annually. Annually. If they're not going routinely to have their toenails cut, annually for a foot check. They have, in their book it talks about doing the little filament test where they take the little hair-like filament and see what the sensation is in the patient's foot. You can read about that in there. Peripheral neuropathy also happens in other places. Well, not peripheral because that's your extremities and stuff, but neuropathy, it can happen in the GI tract. It's one of the most common places that diabetics have neuropathy, and it causes gastroparesis, which means they don't have the peristalsis that normal people have. So what they eat just sits there, and they have a lot of bloating and abdominal pain and things like that. The other place that it occurs in our male patients is erectile dysfunction. And those are the big ones that you're going to hear about that patients complain of problems about. Do patients who have cardiac issues and are on medications also have some erectile dysfunction problems? And then you add the diabetic problems with the neuropathy to that, it can lead to some depression problems in the male patients. How are you going to control that? What are you going to do about it? Keep your blood sugar in control. Keep your blood pressure in control. Your kidneys are the other microvascular place where you're going to see damage. The leading cause of kidney disease in the United States is from diabetes. It can be prevented, largely prevented, by controlling your blood sugar. Okay? Here's the problem with this. The problem with your kidneys starts way before you see evidence of the kidney disease. So there's some preventive things that they can do to protect the kidneys and to monitor to make sure the problem's not getting worse. One is an appointment every year, annually, to have microalbumin tested. And as your microalbumin starts to increase, the kidney disease is increasing also. The other thing is your GFR. What's going to happen to your GFR if you're a diabetic?
It's not gonna filter.
It's not going to filter, so it's going to go down. Your kidneys aren't filtering, so your GFR is going to go down. So those are the two lab tests they're looking for, microalbumin and your GFR. The other thing that they're going to do is they're going to prescribe a medication to control your blood pressure. Well, I don't have high blood pressure. It doesn't matter. They're not using it for your blood pressure because by the time that you develop hypertension in your kidneys, the disease process is already happening. So they're going to use either ACE inhibitors, which end in what? Pril. Or they're going to use ARBs, which end in what? Sartans. So you're going to see your diabetic patients take either lisinopril for the most part or Cozar. So those are the two medications you're going to see that they prescribe to protect the client's kidneys, even before you see portal hypotension. Okay? They need to be tested annually. Let's see. For type 1 diabetics, microalbumin at least on the 5th year of diagnosis and then annually. And for type 2 diabetics, they need to be tested annually also. So that's what you're going to do for them. What is the key to preventing all of these complications?
Control your blood.
Yes, tight glucose control. That is the key. How am I going to get my patient to do that? What 4 things do you remember? Education. Exercise. Diet. No. The 4 pillars of controlling this. Monitoring. I got to know where I'm starting, right? Then I'm going to control my diet. I'm going to do my exercise. And then as a last resort, I'm going to add in the medications. That is not true with a type 1 diabetic. A type 1 diabetic is never going to be medication free because they just don't produce insulin. Can I reduce their insulin needs with exercise? Yes, I can. Because when I exercise, it makes my it makes the cells more efficient to process the insulin I have. So if I'm working more efficiently, I can use less insulin. But a type 1 diabetic's always going to have insulin. It's just the way it is. So here's our things. This is the key. I got to know where I'm starting. I can't tell you to change your diet unless I know what you're eating. I can tell you to go run marathons. You might already run marathons. You know what I'm saying? So I got to have a starting point. Monitoring is where I start. So we already talked about the blood test. A1C is the blood test that I'm going to use to see, and I hate the word compliant because there are so many reasons that my patient's not doing what I want them to. They didn't understand what I taught them. They don't have the financial means to do what they need to do. Can you have family barriers where you're trying and everybody's sabotaging you because they don't understand? Culture. Who said culture? That's an issue, isn't it, sometimes? It's hard to go to the big family party and not eat the fried chicken and potato salad. You know, I like it too. So, I mean, it's hard. Cultural issues sometimes present themselves. Glucometer. This is how I'm going to monitor them at home. Is there anything I need to teach them? No. Okay, how to use it. Because when I give you the fancy little box and say, here's your glucometer to check your blood sugar, you need to do it 3 times a day. And they say, okay. Be like my father-in-law. Know where the box sat? On the counter, in the box, till the day he died. Never checks his blood sugar one time. Because A, he wasn't interested. And B, nobody showed him how to use it. And he wasn't about to read and figure it out himself. You know?
Pictures? Ain't gonna do it.
Well, I mean, it never came out of the box. So, he didn't care. That was the first barrier. Then the second barrier was nobody taught him how to use it. What about if more than one person in the house is a diabetic?
Do not share.
Yeah, don't share. And if you do share, like we do in the hospital, clean it in between. Because I can pass on bloodborne pathogens if I get blood on the machine. Okay, so don't share. What about sticking their finger? What do I need to teach them about that? Okay, clean your finger with the alcohol.
Make sure to
Do it on the side of the finger, not on the pad of the finger itself, because the pad of the finger is going to get really, really sore if it does hurt more, and it's going to get sore if they continue to do it there. Anything else I need to teach them about a glucometer?
Wipe away the first blood.
Okay. Does alcohol affect your blood sugar? Like alcohol, like on the alcohol pad? Yes. So make sure that you wipe away that first blood, let that dry, and then get your blood. Anywhere else I can stick them instead of their finger?
Their forearm.
Okay, some monitors will let you use the forearm. The ear is a great place. Like the earlobe is a great place. The toe, if it's clean. I hesitate to say the toe because they have the diabetic problems with their feet. And I know that if you are going to start an IV on a patient in any hospital on the Gulf Coast and you're going to put it in their foot, you have to have a doctor's order to put it in their foot. And especially a diabetic patient, I would be real hesitant to do that. Let's see, what else I got on here. In the hospital for critically ill patients, remember we talked about core measures before? The core measure for your critically ill patient is to keep their blood sugar between 140 and 180. And that sounds kind of high, but if I'm stressed and I'm not eating, is that too high of a blood sugar?
No.
And so when you come to me in level 1 and say, oh my God, my patient's blood sugar is high. And I say, well, what was it? And you say, 128. You see why I don't freak out? First of all, in most places, we don't start our sliding scale till their blood sugar is over 170 or 180, you know, because we want that blood sugar between 140 and 180 to meet the nutrient requirements of the cells. That is the core measure for that. We know this is the most beneficial lab, so that's the one they're going to do. Do I need to do that every day? No, it's not going to change every day. It's an average, so I only need to do it every so often. And the doctor will usually do that from the office to check your compliance. The diet, what should my plate look like? Right, my plate should look somewhat like this. It's a lot of fruit on the one side, but fruit has sugar. But I do have my non-carbohydrate vegetables with my broccoli. Let's talk about the vegetables a little bit. If a vegetable's high in carbs, would be corn, potatoes, carrots. Which ones are low in carbs? Green leafies, green beans are low in carbs. So when you're counting carbs for your patient, if it's high carb vegetable, it's 15 carbs per serving. If it's one of the low carb vegetables like the broccoli, it's only 5. So I can eat 3 times the amount of broccoli that I can corn. Yes, but when you're teaching your patients at first, you don't teach them that because they barely can grasp the concept at first. But yes, when you get good at it, you subtract the fiber and get a better number. You can eat more food that way. You know? But the thing about it is, which one's going to fill me up more? A cup and a half of a cup and a half of broccoli, or my half a cup of corn. My half a cup of corn is going to make me feel fuller.
I mean, no diabetes.
Corn when it comes out.
Faster and you're going to run out of it.
Right, your corn's a starch. It's a less volume. It's going to bring my blood sugar up. What?
Me too.
It's easy. The bigger volume with more fiber is going to fill you up faster than the smaller volume that's all carbs. Yes, eat the broccoli. Eat the broccoli without the cheese. Fruit. Does fruit have carbs in it? Yes. What's it? If I handed you a banana and you're a diabetic, how many servings of carbohydrates is that? A lot. It's 2 servings. A half of a banana is 15 carbs. And 15 carbs is 1 carb serving. You kind of have to know these foods. And I think I have a list in here somewhere to give you an example. So when I'm doing carb counting, we don't do this in the hospital too much because the patients in the hospital, they're there because they don't do this. Okay? We just give them sliding scale insulin and feed them their diet. Okay? Good patients who are compliant at home that we never see in the hospital usually use carb counting. So you got to teach them what carbs are. Who can do that? The internet. Google it. MyFitnessPal. A dietitian nutritionist. A diabetic educator. So, a carb serving is 15 grams of carbs, which is all of your non-leafy vegetables, so anything starchy. All of your fruits are 15 carbs a serving. Rice, breads, things like that. For every 15 carbs that you eat, you take 1 unit of rapid-acting insulin. Okay? So I can decide what I'm going to eat. And I know in 75 carbs, so how much insulin would I give myself? 3?
I don't know.
Okay.
I need to go home.
5? Easy calculator. 5. If I'm eating 75 grams of carbs, I would take 5 units of rapid-acting insulin because every 15 carbs is 1 unit of rapid-acting insulin. Why are you looking so puzzled?
I'm lost too.
I was thinking 25, not 15.
Okay, I'm eating 75. I know I'm going to eat 75 grams of carbs in my lunch today. Okay?
So 15 is a 75 gives you how many units?
Yes. I'm going to divide my number of carbs by 15, and that's how many units of insulin I'm going to give. Is that hard?
No, it's simple when you're not.
Why is it hard? If there's a question like that, you'll have a calculator. Yeah. If there's a question. Go ahead, Karima. Listen.
You said the number of carbs divided by 15.
My number of carbs that I'm going to eat divided by 15, that's how many carbs is in a serving, equals my number of units of insulin.
Do I round up?
Huh?
Do I round up?
Do you round up when you give insulin? No. You never round up when you're giving
I knew
insulin.
that. I was just letting say and they mean. I
Yeah,
knew
good for you.
that. Yeah, it's a complex question.
What are you eating with the whole package of 30?
Yeah, so I was saying that's got 30, so you would do 2 units of insulin.
Yeah, I'm stealing your stuff.
Right?
Yeah. So yeah, that's another thing. Reading labels. I'm just kidding. Reading labels. This little teeny tiny bag here has
30.
2 servings.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. So they don't smell that good
I
either.
still don't feel
So let's talk about that. The tools of the trade here. We got to teach them some stuff. Somebody's got to teach them some stuff. Listen, somebody's got to teach them some stuff. Portion size. When I eat a portion of spaghetti, how much is a portion of spaghetti? 1 portion.
1 cup. 1 cup.
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
It's like 4 bites.
It's like 4 bites. Look right here. Here's your sizes. A half a cup of oatmeal, a half a cup of spaghetti or rice. Who eats a half a cup? So when you start doing this, they think you're storing things. Okay?
Don't look at carbs, don't look at fat, they're looking at calories.
It means a half of a like a top or a bottom. Yes, see, Sissy is being enlightened over here with the labeling. You have no idea what you consume, do you? Okay, so listen. If you want to get finished, you need to listen. Let me go back here. Keep a food journal, because if I'm going to eat the pack of Oreos or the pack of donuts right there, it's easy to eat it and not account for it. But if I'm taking my food journal in, so she comes in with her food journal, I'm the nurse practitioner, and she says, I just don't know why my A1C is 9.7, because this is all I ever eat. And I look at her thing, and it has broccoli and a half a serving of spaghetti, and I'm like, no, she's lying.
She didn't write those donuts.
She didn't write the donuts down or the Cheetos, you know? So it holds you more accountable if you have to write it down in your journal. Read nutrition labels, which we're going to look at one, which we've looked at several. Measuring tools. She said, isn't that about the size of a fist? Now, if I'm just teaching somebody, am I going to say, well, just give yourself a piece of meat the size of a deck of cards? No. Because that is considered 3 ounces. That's a serving. How many people eat 3 ounces of steak? Or 3 ounces of chicken? Exactly. People don't know. And so when I say a deck of cards, they're looking at the deck of cards made for blind people with the big numbers, and they're still eating their 9 ounces of steak. Do you see what I'm saying? But you have to teach them to measure it. Be accurate at first. Invest in measuring cups and invest in a scale so you know what you're eating. The ones we don't see in the hospital, they do this. They stick to the plan, and they do it, and that's why we don't see them. Reading the labels. Just like that bag of chips right there that she just ate. Like, if I was just looking at that, I would think that was 1 serving. But when I flip it over on the back, that little teeny tiny bag is 2 servings of the thing. So instead of my 160 calories, it's 330 calories. You gotta weigh it. Is it worth it? I'm gonna lose my toes. Is it worth it? You heard Miss Cooper, you'll lose your toes. So you gotta teach them how to read food labels. How many servings are in the package? How big is my serving? Because how many of you know people who can eat a bowl of cereal and they eat it out of a mixing bowl instead of just a bowl? Just because you ate a bowl of cereal, you might have ate 5 servings. So you got to teach them. There's your servings. There's some examples of your servings. A half of a baked potato. Who eats a half a baked potato? And not from McAllister's either, because I'm telling y'all, those are 2 potatoes. They are. They're 2 potatoes stuck together to make one big potato. Exercising. What do I need to teach them about exercising?
30 minutes a day.
30 minutes a
to
day,
it.
it's the recommended amount. Is walking good enough?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, walking's good enough. Get outside, do something. If you can't get outside, walk on an indoor track or go to the mall, walk around the mall. Not shop, walk. They do that.
All those people in the mall that.
They get there super early in the morning and they walk around the mall.
There used to be a lady in Home Depot. She'd get a buggy for like 2 of those cylinder blocks in there, and she'd just make a laps around the store.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
You see
that
her in
is
there
smart.
every time I went to Home Depot.
That is smart. If your blood sugar's low, I don't want you to go out and exercise until you've eaten a snack. Because remember we said exercise makes us utilize the insulin more efficiently? And if I'm using it better and it's already low, my blood sugar is going to bottom out and I'm going to be hypoglycemic. I also, in the opposite of that, if my blood sugar is high, over 250, I don't want you going out until your blood sugar's down. Because what happens is, if it's over 250, for some reason you're not utilizing the glucose that you have. And so your body's saying, hey, I'm starving, and now she's trying to kill me with exercise. And I'm going to start burning fats, which is going to do what to my blood sugar? Make it go up even more. Because that's the purpose of burning fat, is to make raise my blood sugar. So I want it under control. Take a snack with you. What could they take with them?
Some Cheez-Its.
Cheez-Its, peanut butter crackers, an apple. An apple has 15 grams of carbs. Take an apple with you. In Sissy's drink over here, she had a bunch of carbs. Is there any other kind of drink that has carbs in it?
Yeah.
Orange juice.
Powerade.
Gatorade.
So,
Gatorade.
yeah, you don't need sweet tea. You need carbs, not sugar.
Beer.
So, in your book, it gives you some very specific guidelines for teaching your patient about exercise. And I put the chart right there for you so you'll have it. Carry information that you're a diabetic. Because if you're sitting on the park bench and you're all sweaty and you just look kind of lethargic and I walk past you, I'm going to say, wow, Sissy's really working out today. Look at her. When Sissy's blood sugar could be 30. You know what I'm saying?
That is possible for me. I have blood sugar.
So, you need to carry some sort of identification that if you have an emergency, somebody knows what's going on with you or has an inkling of what might be going on with
Sitting
you.
at the park like that, you better check on me when you're working out.
Insulins. I'm not really even going to talk about insulins too much because y'all know about insulins, correct? If I give rapid acting insulin, when do I need to feed my patient? Right away. If I give Lantus or Levemir, it's long acting. What is the peak of it? When does it peak?
3 hours.
Yeah, I'm giving long. When's the
5
peak?
hours.
There is none.
There is no peak.
It's
Long acting
pushed out.
insulin doesn't peak. It has an onset and it has a steady duration of how long? Yeah, up to 24 hours. Because long acting insulin or Lantus mimics your body's natural insulin. NPH, intermediate insulin. How long does it last?
16 hours.
What'd you say, Jasmine?
This says 10 to 24
10
hours.
to 24 hours too. If I'm giving short acting insulin, when do I need to feed my patient?
30 minutes.
Within 30 minutes, because that's when it starts the onset. When is my patient most susceptible for hypoglycemic if I don't feed them? At the peak time. So if I give my insulin and it starts working and I don't feed my patient, by the time that insulin peaks and I haven't fed them, their blood sugar is going to bottom out because there's nothing there for it to work with. So your insulin. What kind of things affect my absorption of insulin?
Antioxidants. Maybe.
What'd you say? Okay, body fat percentage. I'm gonna clarify that because I think it is. If I give it in my sub-Q tissue, it's absorbed at a different rate than if I accidentally give it in the muscle. Okay? If you have a real tiny little person and you're giving it in the back of the arm or whatever, and it goes into the muscle, it's absorbed more sporadically than in the sub-Q tissue. It's supposed to be administered sub-Q. What'd you say?
I have a way like that. You take 25 of insulin too.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes they're just so frail, there's nowhere to give it that they haven't eaten fat, you know?
She didn't. And her blood sugar was running.
I want to teach them to rotate the site of their insulin because a lot of patients who give themselves insulin, they develop scar tissue. And then when I give my insulin where my scar tissue is, it doesn't hurt as bad and it's not absorbed as well. So I need to teach them to rotate the site. Where is the recommended site to give insulin? Stomach. The recommended site by the ADA is the abdomen, okay? Where your patients want you to give it, most of them? In the back of their upper arm. Is that really wrong? Not really. You're just going to get better absorption in the sub-Q of the abdomen. What if I apply heat or massage to where I gave the insulin?
Don't do it.
Right, it increases the absorption. It makes it work faster. So whereas I say the short insulin onset is 30 minutes, if I'm massaging it in, I'm speeding up the process. So I don't want to do that. Do I need to aspirate insulin when I give it?
No.
No, don't need to. Let's see.
I had a nurse last semester who told me that. She's like, oh, yeah, that's right first. I was like, no, I don't.
No, you don't. Yes.
I have patients who have rheumatoid arthritis and use giving insulin. Is that, when you go give it, it's so tight, is it aspirate who? Patient like that, because when I was giving it, I felt like totally hard going
Nowhere.
into his mostly up. So, what if we were even better given?
I would probably use that more.
Because it like spreads out the fat and
Yeah.
it's super tight.
So even though he was a bigger person, he was all in and out.
Yeah.
Right. So you know about the insulins. Go back and look in your book about the insulins because you need to know about them all the way through. And I know you give them in clinical every time you're there, so know about those.
We can't check it, but we can give it.
What?
Well, you know,
Oh, yeah.
you can't check a blood sugar, but you can give insulin. I know.
Oh,
Let's talk. Go ahead.
You can't, well, you have to scan.
There's a training.
Right. Well, what happened was the tech gave them the glucometer.
I just don't
I
know.
don't know documented or what happened, but then the tech told the nurse a different number, and the patient got insulin based on the incorrect number, so fix that. Nobody would. Here's the thing, that's what I said, that's exactly what I said. If I'm gonna give it, if I'm gonna give the insulin, I'm gonna go back and look what was documented, not just take word about Memorial.
Oh, yeah, I know why.
No, we can't do it in Memorial.
It's legal beans, child.
I'm not telling.
Nobody can, no student.
It's bad.
Yeah, no student.
I know exactly what happened. It is bad.
Now we want to know.
So,
You gotta say
we
all
can
that.
talk about it after class.
Yeah. I want to be a part of that.
It happened on one of our students in level 2, but it involved their, well, that's why we can't do them.
Yeah.
Something that happened in level 2. So, it's on pump. Great for getting their glucose under control. Got a lot of teaching to do. So what kind of things do I need to teach them?
Batteries.
Batteries. If you don't have batteries, it ain't gonna work. Okay?
Rotating.
You make sure your batteries are good. What else?
That area you put on to be dry.
Okay, dry and clean. How often do I want to change the site?
Every 3 days?
Every 3 days. What else do I need to teach them? Okay, I've got to have a backup plan in case this malfunctions because nobody's going to help me on the weekend and I still need to take my insulin on the weekend. So I got to have some regular supplies to take care of it. What else might I need to teach them? Anything else?
What was the question?
Anything I need to teach them about a insulin pump?
How to work it.
How to work it.
Basic function.
How to read it.
Yeah, and
Okay, how to read it, the function.
check your insulin.
How do I give my bolus dose? If I'm going to give a bolus dose. If I'm getting a basal rate. What does that mean, a basal rate?
Baseline?
Yeah, but what does that mean though? It means that my patient's getting a continuous dose of insulin all the time. And then if they eat their carbs, they can dial up however many more units of insulin that they need. So the basal rate is a steady discharge of insulin. Now, the fancy ones, the new fancy ones, you can actually check your blood sugar in real time and dose yourself like all on one thing. Other ones have the little monitor that you can hold your phone up to. It'll give you your blood sugar. You can dose yourself. They have some really, really fancy ones. They're expensive. Yes. They're expensive. Some insurance companies won't pay for them. Okay?
But pay for that Narcan then.
Yeah, for the police department and everybody. All right, so here's your medications. You need to know these oral hyperglycemics. I'm going to tell you what you need to know about them for level 3, but I'm giving you all the slides because you might see these on your NCLEX and you might need to do some patient teaching. So you're going to have to trigger yourself to go back and look at them again. Metformin is the number 1 line for treatment of type 2 diabetics. Tell me what you know about metformin.
Hard on the kidneys.
Okay, no iodine, contrast dye with it. What will it do?
It builds up in the kidneys.
Yes, it will give you acute renal failure. Builds up in your kidneys. So they're going to check your BUN and creatinine. They're going to try to get you off the metformin 24 to 48 hours before they have to do a CT or MRI with dye or any kind of test with dye, really. This does not make the body release insulin. It makes the body utilize the insulin that you have better, so there's a less chance of having hypoglycemia with this medication. It does, however, work in the gut, so it causes GI distress. They use this for polycystic ovaries also, and most of the patients say, I just can't take it because I'm so bloated and gassy all the time. Usually, if the patient's consistent and takes it for about 3 weeks, these side effects subside. But until then, they're kind of miserable. So if you give me this medication and I'm miserable and I didn't know I was going to be miserable, how compliant do you think I'm going to be? Not very. I'm going to stop taking it. But if I know I'm going to have some GI discomfort, maybe some gas, I might could suffer for 3 weeks if it really helps the problem. Contraindicated in patients who have renal failure, okay? It's metabolized by the kidneys. So if my patient doesn't have good urine output or already has kidney disease, it's a drug that I really want to consider the risks and the benefits before they take that drug. I say I as the prescriber. You know what I'm saying? If the doctor's prescribed it, he obviously has weighed the risk versus the benefits. This is the second line drug right here, your glipizide and your glimepiride. It's Amaryl. Amaryl is contraindicated for anybody who has systemic heart failure. So if your patient has systemic heart failure, they should not be taking that medication. This drug acts on the pancreas and causes it to release more insulin, so there's a bigger increase of hypoglycemia. So what do I want to tell my patient to do when they take this medicine? Eat. You need to eat if you're going to take this medicine, okay? However, this lovely little medicine causes weight gain. What do you know about type 2 diabetics? They already have obesity problems for the most part. Yes,
So
Justin?
it's contraindicated with what?
Huh?
Systemic heart failure.
Systemic heart failure. So this is a drug that they kind of have to weigh the weight gain with the benefits of the drug. And usually you're going to see your patient taking both of these drugs together. So they're going to take the metformin, which helps the cells better utilize the insulin. They're going to take the glipizide, which produces more insulin, and it'll reduce their blood sugar that way. These are the 2 drugs in level 2 that I want you to know about. Okay? I want you to know about them. Who can
Level 3?
oh yeah, you're in level 3. Level 3. Okay? I want you to know these 2 drugs inside and out. Okay? This drug right here, Avandia, also symptomatic heart failure, can't take these drugs. The TZDs, you're going to see these patients in the hospital on these drugs. So you just need to know them. They're on here for your benefit when you start studying for level 4 and your NCLEX, okay? These are all straight from your book, off of a graph in your book. I'm going to skip these because we already talked about them. Sick day rules, I want to talk about those. These are the last 2 things we got to talk about. Sick day rules and the Simonji effect. So if my patient's a diabetic and they just don't feel like eating, is it okay for them to skip their medicine?
No.
No. I want them to take their medicine just like they would. Because if I'm sick and I'm not eating and I don't take my medicine, whatever glucose I have floating around is not getting in cells, and my body says, hey, you're still starving me, and it starts breaking down fats. Okay? It converts glycogen, converts the glucagon, converts the glycogen back to glucose. That raises my blood sugar because you're starving me. I'm still starving. My cells are still starving at the cellular level. So now I'm breaking down fats. My blood sugar is going higher and higher. So I want you to take your medicine as much as you normally would. But you're going to check your blood sugar more frequently. Okay? So if I check my blood sugar 4 times a day, I might be checking my blood sugar every 3 hours to make sure that my blood sugar is not getting too high. I do want you to take your insulin because you're going to have DKA or HHNS if you don't. Your blood sugar is going to get that high. Carbs. I want you to take in enough carbs, but I can't eat anything. Everything I eat comes up. So what's a good thing I can do for carbs in that instance?
Drink.
Gatorade. Drink my Gatorade. Drink something to get the carb intake up. So where normally a diabetic would drink diet drinks or Powerade Zero, they can drink regular Powerade in the times that they're sick. Ketones. I want you to check your ketones. How am I going to do that? Pee on a stick. You can buy the sticks at Walmart. People who are on the keto diet buy the keto sticks and pee on the stick. And you measure your ketones. If your ketones get to a certain level, you need to let the doctor know because he might want to see you. Because what happens when your blood sugar gets so high, it's not that your blood sugar is 600 that is causing the problem. But the true problem is you are completely dehydrated. Because remember way back in A&P, and you talked about osmosis, wherever those sugar molecules go, pulls in the fluid, and you're getting rid of all your fluid. So your real problem is dehydration. And the way to prevent that is to keep your blood sugar from getting too high. So your sick day rules, down and dirty basics for level 3. Check your blood sugar more often. Take your medication just as they're prescribed. Try to keep up your carb intake, even if you have to do it with fluids. Check your ketones and call the doctor if you have ketones in your urine. Okay? Because we're trying to prevent hyperglycemia, DKA, and HHNS. Okay? So in here, all I want you to know is I'm trying to prevent that. And then in level 4, we're going to learn how to treat it. What we're going to do to treat it. Okay? The last thing I want to talk about, and I'm going to tell you, this is not going to be on your test, but you need to understand what these 2 things are. Okay? The dawn phenomena is something that happens in every person. When you get to those waking hours, your blood sugar starts to go up. It's a normal thing that happens. It's a normal rise in your blood sugar. You haven't eaten anything, okay? But your other hormones, cortisol, your thyroid hormone, start kicking in and cause you to have an increase of glucose. I have insulin. So when I wake up, my blood sugar is normal. But the problem happens for your diabetic patient. This is the patient who takes their medicine before they go to bed and they don't eat a snack. And then their blood sugar in the middle of the night drops so low, they sleep right through it because you don't wake up. All those compensatory hormones kick in and it starts to raise the blood sugar, and they have no insulin, or their receptor cells aren't working to accept the insulin, and their blood sugar stays up and it's high in the morning. Okay? So they go to bed at night, don't eat, and it drops. They wake up in the morning and it's super high. So how am I going to prevent this from happening?
Eat
Have a
before you go to
snack.
sleep.
Yes. Do I want you to eat a whole meal? No, I want you to just eat a small carb snack before you go to bed so that when you have that peak right there at 2 o'clock in the morning where your blood sugar bottoms out, you don't have that reaction where it goes too high. The other thing that they teach the patients to do is wake themselves up, set an alarm. If it's a kid, mom can do it, but set an alarm and check that blood sugar between 2 and 3 o'clock so you can track the levels at bedtime, 2 or 3 o'clock, and then in the morning so you can see what the pattern is. And that's how they diagnose the difference between the two of these. This happens for everybody. This is a man-made problem in that you're taking your medication to lower your blood sugar, not eating your snack, and then you're bottoming out and your body's taking over and producing too much glucose. Okay? You're not going to see this on your level 3 test, but you might see this on the NCLEX. That's why I wanted to include it. So you just recognize the difference between the two. Okay? You guys have any questions? Okay, so if you do, just email me. If you want to know who won the scholarship, you're free to join the other section. If you want to go home, you can do that too.